You know that feeling. 2 weeks ago, you felt totally pumped. You RSVP'd yes with enthusiasm to that party, that dinner, or that networking event. Your future self was so optimistic. But now, it's 6 p.m. on the day of the event. The light is fading, you're wearing comfortable pants, and the thought of putting on shoes, finding your keys, and navigating human interaction triggers a low-grade full-body dread. You are now actively praying they text you first to cancel. This isn't just about being an introvert. This is the core of modern social plan anxiety, and it reveals a deep conflict between who you think you are and who you actually are right now. Society loves to label this behavior. We call ourselves flakes. We call friends who frequently bail unreliable. We use terms like bad communicator or lazy. But what if I told you that your immediate impulse to initiate a last-minute cancellation isn't a moral failing? It's not that you're suddenly a worse friend than you were 2 weeks ago. It is, almost exclusively, a cognitive bias at work, a psychological defense mechanism designed to conserve your most precious resource, mental energy. When we talk about why we cancel plans, we have to talk about the two different selves in your brain, the future self and the present self. When the invitation first landed in your inbox, your future self took the reins. The future self is generally optimistic, novelty-seeking, and terrible at predicting discomfort. It sees the plan as an abstract, idealized block of potential fun. It says, yes, dopamine, excitement, I will definitely have the energy for that later. This commitment phase feels good because your brain gets a small hit of reward just for agreeing to something new. This is also the period where we are most susceptible to the planning fallacy, believing the effort required will be minimal. But as the date approaches, the present self wakes up, and the calculation shifts entirely. The present self is governed by the need for safety, comfort, and critically, avoiding anticipatory stress. Anticipatory stress is the psychological cost of waiting for an unpleasant event, but in the context of canceling plans, it's the cost of waiting for the transition to the social event. Your brain starts running a mental cost-benefit analysis, and the numbers are often skewed by something known as future self discounting. Future self. Discounting basically means that the happiness and social reward you might receive after. The event is heavily discounted compared to the guaranteed comfort and relief you feel right now by staying home. The brain is obsessed with maximizing immediate comfort. The effort required, the transition cost, is suddenly enormous. Showering, dressing up, commuting, small talk, dealing with traffic, maintaining a pleasant expression. That massive energy expenditure registers in your prefrontal cortex as a high threat level. Suddenly, the potential reward of seeing your friends seems negligible compared to the sheer effort of leaving the couch. This mental math explains why the simplest form of communication is often the chosen route when attempting to avoid this massive transition cost, ghosting behavior. Why do we ghost? Because confrontation, or even a well-written cancellation text, requires significant cognitive load and emotional effort. It requires managing the other person's disappointment and crafting an acceptable excuse. Silence, or just a quick, vague text, is the path of least resistance. It minimizes immediate effort even if it maximizes future guilt. And let's be honest, we understand this deeply, because we've all been on the receiving end, both as the canceller and the canceled upon. Think about the profound, almost spiritual relief you feel when you get that text. Hey, so sorry, feeling a bit under the weather. Rain check? That feeling is the instantaneous removal of the transition cost. You realize you dodged a bullet, and your immediate comfort level skyrockets. That relief proves the burden was never the event itself. It was the effort required to enter the event. So what do we do about this? You can't just stop making plans, but you can manage the bias. First, acknowledge that your future self is a liar. When you make a plan, try to visualize the absolute worst-case scenario commute and the lowest energy level you might have, and only commit if it still sounds remotely appealing. This helps mitigate future self-discounting. Second, Practice the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself you only have to engage with the plan for 5 minutes. If you're dressed and out the door, the transition cost is mostly paid, and the present self tends to align with the goal. You'll find that once you're there, you rarely regret it. This isn't about shaming yourself or others for canceling. It's about understanding the deep-seated psychological wiring that prioritizes comfort and energy conservation. The true path to better social planning isn't fighting laziness, it's managing your inherent biases. If this breakdown helped you understand why your text threads are full of broken promises and sudden relief, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a last-minute cancellation feel like winning the lottery, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the psychology of modern chaos.